Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Unsurpassed Podcast, hosted by your man, Vince Rosca.
And your boy, Saucy, Brian Rossi. How's it going, everybody?
We got a very, very special guest in here today.
A Philadelphia staple, if I could say.
A legend, most would say.
You might find popcorn flying all around him.
Listen, this guy is the hope of Philly, the energy, the everything you want when you go down to the ball game. When you're a kid, you look for this guy, and you pretty much don't look anywhere else.
Yeah, like when you grab your soft served ice cream in the Phillies ball cap, and then you turn around and guess who's there? Well, it's this guy.
And if you're watching the video, you probably already guessed by the hats he came and gave us. Let's welcome the one and only Tom Burgoyne, also known as the Phillie Phanatic.
The best friend of the Phillie Phanatic. Vince, do I look like the Phillie Phanatic?
You're right.
Wait, let me ask you, what color is the Phillie Phanatic?
He's green. You're right.
Yeah. And how much does he weigh? About, 310, 350?
How much do you weigh, Tom?
I'm like I svelte 180.
I felt 180.
I was going to say 170. That would have been a lie. But yeah, I just left the Phanatic. We were just at a school in Pittman, New Jersey. I just did a school assembly, having a good time. Of course, I don't know what it is. I hang around with the Phanatic, but I'm the one who gets all sweaty. So, I was going to wear a tux for you guys today, but since I was running after the Phanatic, I said, well, I got to just go with the, shorts and T-shirt.
Good thing you did not wear the tux, because you can see by us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just fresh out of work. So.
Nice.
I mean, I think you might be overdressed for this podcast. You might be. So let's dive into a little bit here. Me and you met on opening day this year because of Bryce Harper. This the whole big talk of the town guy. I look like him, and I happen to be sitting there in the park. And, I'm getting all these looks from everybody, obviously, like, oh, this guy looks like Bryce Harper. And here comes this guy who I don't know, who was soon to be Tom, comes sits next to me, and I'm expecting, yo, man, like, you look like Bryce Harper, all this stuff. And sure enough, it started off with that, and he's like, yeah, I'm Tom, I'm actually the best friend of the Phillie Phanatic. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, all right, it's not just another guy, you know what I mean? Like, so that's how this whole podcast came to be. So, and like... that opening day, man, I got to thank you for that, because I had one of the best days of my life down there.
I was following, me and him were hanging out, and he could not walk, not 10 feet without having somebody ask for his picture, an autograph, or somebody telling him, hey, you're supposed to be in right field right now, bud. Like, what are you doing up here?
Well, he fooled me, too. When I was there early in the morning, every year, opening day, they ask for the Phanatic to do all the TV hits in the morning. All the local shows are down there, including Fox. And I'm taking a little break, and I'm in my dressing room. I'm looking at the TV. I'm like, oh, boy, that's a good get by Fox to get Harper on, this early in the morning. I didn't know. Yeah, Harper must be fired up for opening days. You're like at 6:30 in the morning.
300 million ain't waking up.
But I'm like, wow. So they do the first segment with the events, right? And I'm locked in. I just thought, Mike Jurek, who is the host, who I know, he did the interview, and it just sounded like, wow, yeah, that's great. And then they go to a commercial, and then they're like, oh, Bryce is like still here. I'm like, boy, he's still here. And then Jurek started getting kind of weird, saying stuff. I'm like, what's he doing asking Bryce this stuff? And I'm like, wait a minute, is that not Bryce Harper? I mean, it took a while for me, and then it dawned on me, hey, in the seventh inning, of course, the Phanatic always does a dance in the dugout, and I saw you, sitting there. I'm like, I got to go talk to Vince, So it was really cool. The Phanatic really appreciates you helping them out that day. We had the military come and dance with the Phanatic. Not really dance, just kind of give a little salute. But before we had them come up on the dugout, Vince crushed it. Actually, it was funny because you didn't dance much at all, which is perfect because it was very Harper-like. I think if you had gotten up on the dugout and like started breakdancing or something, I think people were like, no, that's not Bryce Harper. But I think people were like, well, did he just jump up from the dugout onto the,
Yeah, he gave like a nice fist pump, the classic, heading out to right field, fist pump, got everybody jumping. And it was pretty cool seeing him up there, honestly. You know, I was like 4 or 5 rows back, couple beers in, but you know, it was nice seeing, you know, somebody that I knew up there, especially with the Phillie Phanatic, which is a pretty big deal.
Awesome.
Well, look, if I go up there and start breakdancing, then everybody thinks it's set up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But
You're
like when
stating
I got up
character.
there, I had no idea what to do, like zero clue, and I was just like, all right, but I got to put on some sort of show.
It
here.
was
But-
perfect.
No, yeah, it was a good time, and like I said, I like one of the best days I've had. You
Awesome.
know, I'll take the love when I can get it. You know, so like if everybody wants to think I'm Bryce Harper, I'll take it for a little bit. But right when he starts playing bad, you know,
Right.
I'm gonna get the shit out
Or
of
as
it.
soon as people start hitting you up for loans, that's when it's like, all right, yeah, I'm not Bryce Harper.
Right. And what's funny is Mike. You're talking about Mike Jarrett.
Yeah.
Mike Jarrett's a good dude. He was actually that whole thing. I think he was actually getting mad. There were some connections going on, like with the TV stations back and forth. So I just happened to be wandering around the stadium still. Like I was like, they brought me in at 8. I went on like 9 o'clock or whatever. Did my little like
Yeah,
5 seconds segment.
This
and
is on opening day, right? You're talking
yeah,
about?
opening day. And so like I just like whatever, decide to walk around the park and enjoy it. Nobody's in here, you know. People coming around asking for autographs and stuff. And then I come back, they're like, "Oh, he's still here." They're like, "All right, we're gonna bring you on again." I was like, "All right," but when I got on there, it was just he was not happy, man. Like he was happy not that I was there. There was some connection, and you could tell. Like Mike Jarrett's a good dude, but when he's angry, he seems like he can get very angry.
Yes, yeah.
you
When
know?
things aren't going right, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Head for cover.
That was like I said, that was fun though.
Awesome.
But so like you said, you and the Phanatic do a lot of apperances. You
Yeah,
know, and you,
yeah.
like you said, you were at the school earlier.
Yeah, Phanatic has a reading program, so that's pretty cool. I started writing kids. I started by writing a book about the 1993 Phillies. You know, it was my
What a team.
What a team! My favorite.
team.
You know, really my favorite team. And my neighbor is a real writer, and so we collaborated on the book. That was back in 2003. It was the 10-year anniversary of the team. That led to this kids book series. I've written 17 kids books now.
Oh,
It's
my
been
Lord.
it's crazy. And then another book we followed up the 93 book with another one, and then I have another book we can talk about later. But the kids books had led to these school assemblies, which is really neat. I mean, the Phanatic is always, this is the 41st year of the Phanatic. Of course, popular down at the ballpark, but we've always had the Phanatic out and about in the community, doing everything from parades to bar mitzvahs, weddings, schools, hospitals. But the school thing, before we started this program, we would just go and kind of piggyback on whatever the school was doing. Maybe it was field day, or maybe a teacher's retiring, but it's pretty cool now to go into a school with a program that is Phanatic based, and a great message, of course, to read. And like today in Pittman, the kids they had made, like leading up to the Phanatic coming to their school, they had all made these paper hats that they were able to all are wearing these hats. Some of them had had the Phanatic's face on a stick. They had posters everywhere, the Phanatic that they had colored in. So that's pretty cool. And you go in and, all the kids are all fired up for the Phillies and the Phanatic. So it's good times. Good times.
Easy schedule for the art teachers.
Oh,
for sure,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
true. Yeah.
Let's go, guys. Let's make something with the Phanatic.
And it's always good to go in the afternoon, like we went this afternoon, because after the Phanatic's done, it's like, all right, they can't contain the kids like for the rest of the day. It's like throw them on the buses, get them home, because whenever we do one of those assemblies in the morning, the kids are a little out of control the rest of the day.
Those kids remember that, man.
Well, it's so special because you see them at the ballpark, and not everybody gets the chance. And the Phillie Phanatic does an unbelievable job of making his way around the concourse and talking to as many fans. Geez, that was impossible.
Sticking his tongue out.
Yeah,
That's
sticking
right.
his tongue, having fun, popcorn toss to as many children, fans as possible. But to have that experience where the Phillie Phanatic comes to your school, or you get to see him one-on-one, it is it's pretty cool. Like, I remember it as a kid.
Yeah, it's kind of I call the Phanatic, he's kind of the Phillies' pocket of love. He's that no matter what's going on with the organization, or maybe we're in last place or things aren't going well, it's like when the Phanatic is still that part of the brand, I guess, that is always it can do no wrong. And then this idea of, you're right, Brian, just to go out into the community where you can, you can't really do that with the players as easily, certainly. But the Phanatic is that part of the Phillies brand that people can hug and kiss and high five. And like, man, I feel like I'm, hanging with the Phillies when I'm hanging with the Phanatic, So, yeah, those community appearances have always been important to us.
Now, to piggyback off of that, did that help? Did your relationship with the Phillie Phanatic help you go on to write your books, your kids' books, or is this something that you kind of came upon?
Yeah, well, this is my 31st year of being the friend of the Phanatic, which is, I can't believe I've been doing it that long. So I certainly know him, and I know the character really well. So after this idea came that, maybe the Phanatic really should have a series of books. I had young kids at the time, and, you're reading some really bad kids' books, like you're reading Barney every night, or some of these other ones. Like, man,
I love you.
Yeah, right. It's like, you know what? Maybe something for the parents. Will have, Phanatic kids' books are a little bit more hip than Barney. So, but then when it comes to writing those stories, because I know the characters so well, is once I have a kind of a story idea, they're pretty easy to write. I feel bad for our illustrator. His name's Len Epstein. He's been illustrating the Phanatic since 1984, and I always feel bad. It only takes a couple days for me to write one of the books, and then like I hand it over to him and we talk about the illustrations, and then he's got the book for he's got to work for about the next 4 or 5 months on the illustrations.
A big bulk of work.
Yeah, but it's been great.
So how long have you actually been with the Phanatic?
Well, this is my 31st season, with the Phillies and hanging with the Phanatic. That's all I've done. I work a little in it with our promotions group. I was telling you guys I have a podcast on the Phillies homepage and iTunes. I used to for a while there when I was I started as the backup guy. Dave Raymond was the original best friend of the Phanatic, if you want to say that. And
no slip-ups here. No slip-ups here.
It's a podcast. We can slip every once in a while. It's no big deal. But so when I got hired, I was hired as the backup guy, which meant I was doing the bulk of those community appearances, and Dave was still doing the games. So I worked up in the control room in Fanavision, playing the tunes, and more importantly, watching the Phanatic. Even that, I grew up in Jenkintown. I grew up a huge Philadelphia sports fan and a major, and so I was a connoisseur of the Phanatic even before I started working for the Phillies. But they hired me as the backup. I did that for 5 years, and it was my full-time job. It was a full-time job, and then after Dave left, he started his own company, created another mascot, and that was 26 years ago, and that's when I took over doing all the games and handling all the responsibilities.
So you absolutely fell in love with the Phanatic as a
kid. I was the class clown growing up. I loved to make my friends laugh, but I was a huge Philadelphia sports fan too. So I would tell people, it's like when the Phanatic came out, he was like a cross between Bugs Bunny, the Three Stooges, and Mike Schmidt. It's like,
what a pairing.
I know, and I love the Phanatic. So as a kid, I watched them, religiously, and I think it helped me when I found out. Well, I'll give you the short story. Well, it's a longer story. I'll shorten it, but I went to St. Joe's Prep. Then I went to Drexel University and took a job in sales when I graduated from Drexel, and I was in sales, but I was selling computer supplies, business forms, and I wasn't doing much. Like after 6 months, I'm looking into one ads for a job, and there was an ad that said mascots want it. And it didn't say Phillies or Phanatic, just said mascots want it. Sent a letter and a resume to a P.O. box. And so I'm like, what do I have to lose? I was a mascot at the Prep. I was the Hawk at the Prep. I was not the Dragon at Drexel, but I was the Hawk at the Prep.
At St. Joe's?
At St. Joe's,
okay.
Yeah. And so and sure enough, I sent it in. And a week later, I get a call saying, come on down and interview for the Phillie Phanatic job. I'm like, Phillie Phanatic job? What? That was I thought it was going to be for like the Statue of Liberty guy on like tax time. Down in the corner
with a spinning sign.
Yeah,
Liberty tax. Yeah.
Oh,
so it was like a sneaky little ad they put in there.
Yeah, that's all it was. And so I went down to the vet and I interviewed and auditioned. But I actually the interview was funny because first of all, usually an employer's in an interview is trying to weed out the biggest idiot. Here they were looking to hire the biggest idiot. So I had a chance. They made me actually, put the costume on and
Wow.
and for about 5 minutes and role played with me. And I thought, there's no way I'm gonna get it. I was like critical on my way home. I'm like, first of all, I can't believe I just did that. Like my mind was blown. Like that was unbelievable. But there's no way I'm gonna get it. And 2 weeks later, they called and said I got the job.
That's crazy.
Could you imagine, walking in and next thing you know, like you're top of the chain.
Yeah. Well,
Like you're gonna be number one. Like now, can you handle this? Like it's a situation where if you're not really intrigued and wanting to do it, it's probably tough for most people. So like the fact that you were able to pull it out in a quick 10-minute thing, that's pretty
and like
awesome.
I said, I knew the Phanatic and his moves and all that, but still, I remember my first appearance, they sent me out to like the Amish country. I was like, so if I screwed
you're
up.
starting off here, buddy.
Yeah. If I screwed up, I was on some farm like in the middle of Lancaster County. And
Paying for the cab home.
That's awesome. And we have this conversation all the time, and it's like there's mascots out there, right? There's like the college mascots and stuff, but like nothing compares to the Phillie Phanatic, man. Like it's like there are mascots, like I said, like we'll say St. Joe's, for instance, right? It's just tied in with the school. The Phillie Phanatic is tied in with the Phillies, but it's its own entity. You know what I mean? Like it's made its own brand.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's always surprising to me, and it's always surprising that more teams don't emulate kind of the way the Phillies do it. There are a lot of really great performers out there. There's some really cool costumes, and you need to have that. You have to have performers, it doesn't have to be a professional necessarily, but is into his job and demonstrative or whatever. The costume has to be the right thing too, because I always think of Mr. Met, like he's got this huge baseball on his, and it's like, well, even if you're a great performer, you're not going to be able to really do much with that. But then it's the team really has to support it, and the key I think with the Phillies and the Phanatic was they just let the Phanatic go out there and do his thing, and there are not too many rules other than use common sense. Don't get in the way of the game. Don't be rude, don't be crude. It's family entertainment. But other than that, have at it. Which means like the Phanatic is on the field before the game, and he can mess with the players, and on the dugout in the seventh, in the crowd. And there's so many other teams that they don't let their mascot. Don't mess with the players or stay off the grass. Some mascots aren't even allowed on the grass. So the Phillies have always really just done a great job in just letting the Phanatic be the Phanatic.
Real quick, I love the slight shot at the Mets. I love the slight shot.
I was watching something earlier. What was it? It was a Phillies announcer. He said that his if he had a backup, it would be the Mets mascot or something like that. His favorite mascot. I forget who it was.
Really?
I was listening to it. Yeah, we'll disown
We're
him.
gonna have to pull that. We're gonna have to pull that up. And,
We all get out of we all get along. As a matter of fact, one of the cool things is in 1996, the Phillies hosted the All-Star game, and it's pretty cool. That was the first year that MLB started to send all the mascots to the All-Star game when it was in Philly. And so ever since 1996, they've sent the mascots to every All-Star game. So I've been in the last 22 All-Star games, which has been cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, can't wait till 2026. We'll have it here in 7 years. But it's really... we all get a chance to get together and have a good time with all the other guys. So we all get along. It's a friendly rivalry.
Do I dare bring up the Lasorda incident? Do I dare bring that?
That's a great tradition of. Oh my!
I mean, that's classic. That's
classic.
That's top 5 Phanatic stories.
That's classic Phanatic. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And it's funny. It started with Dave when Dave Raymond was the best friend of the Phanatic. So. And it started just before I started with Phillies in '89, and this was probably, I want to say, I know you were showing me that clip earlier of when Lasorda came out of the dugout and grabbed the dummy and smacked it over the Phanatic's head. And that was probably like '87 or so. And but in any event, the Phanatic used to make fun of Tommy being fat, Tommy being Tommy, like Mr. Hollywood. He'd blow kisses to people he knew in the crowd, and it would always rub the Phanatic the wrong way. It's like Phanatic's all Philly. Tommy, was a Philly guy, and maybe that's what got under the Phanatic skin is that he went Hollywood. But it was funny when Dave moved on. I remember it was the Dodgers were coming to town. I was like, baby, I'm going to be ready to just trash the store. And we had a security guard who would be in the Phillies dugout every game. Not the Phillies dugout, the visitors dugout. And it's a big Italian guy from South Philly, the security guy, Tony. And the Phanatic comes. Tony, of course, Tony. And the Phanatic comes out in a four-wheeler before the game, and Tony's got Tommy outside of the dugout, and he has it in his head. And I didn't talk to Tony about this at all. He has it in his head that we're going to make peace. We're going to make peace. It is like the mafia. And I didn't want to make peace because, like, in the fifth inning, I had something planned that was going to, and so he was trying to get me to come over and, like, shake Tommy's hand or something, like, end it right now. I'm like, I don't want to end it now. This is great.
Somebody else's turn,
man.
Yeah, somebody else's turn.
My job is to entertain,
So I had a guy, he worked in Fanavision, he up in the control room, and he was a heavy set guy, and we made him heavier. I stuffed, like, 3 pillows down his pants and in his gut. I put white, powder in his hair, and I had a Lasorda. I put him in a total Dodgers uniform, and this guy was like 5 foot tall, and he rolled out basically onto the field.
4 foot wide.
Yeah. And I abused him, and it was just pretty fun. Tommy, he was a classic cursor. I mean, we're talking every curse word, and he would just, when I'd go out and do that routine and other routines, he would just do nothing but curse me out. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a situation right there. What was the what was the overall thought from the fans?
Oh, they love it.
Of course
my gosh.
they did.
There's a reason why that's like top one.
Of course they did.
I remember one time, this was the funniest thing. Now, at this point, I was working for the Phillies, and I'm working up in the control room, playing the music and everything, and Dodgers are in town. Dave's the guy at this point, and Nutrisystems. What was the other? Slim Fast. Okay. So Tommy was a spokesperson for Slim Fast, and Dave at times would, the Phanatic would go out there, and he would not only smash
Lasorda. You're talking Lasorda.
Lasorda, yeah. Not only would the Phanatic smash a LA helmet in front of Tommy, which he hated, but he would get a can of Slim Fast and slam the, and crush the Slim Fast in front of him. But one day, it was an weekday afternoon game. I'll never forget it. The folks from Slim Fast, the corporation, were at the game, and they had rented one of the, if you remember the Vet, we had the 400 level. It was this kind of the suites that went around, and Dave, or the Phanatic, had no idea, but he didn't know they were in there. He goes in to pay a visit, and it's, oh my gosh, it's the Slim Fast people. There was a cardboard cutout, a Tommy in a suit, like I guess kind of showing off that he had lost all this weight. This true to life, real life, size Tommy Lasorda. The Phanatic grabs it, and he goes to the first row in the suite, and he's dangling it out of the suite, like by his leg, by his feet. And it looked like, the Phanatic was dangling Tommy Lasorda out. It was right across from where I was sitting in the radio booth, in the Fanavision room, and it was just the funniest thing.
You can just imagine the level of noise caused by something like that in the Vet. Like, you could just imagine.
Well, the noise coming because it literally was totally in Tommy's sight. If Tommy, because it was out in right field, so it's right where the manager's in the dugout, along the third base side. He just looks out there and he sees himself being dangled out of the
dangled off the ledge.
He's like, every time I come here, I'm getting heckled. I can't stand this. Could you imagine? I love how that's like he's got the Slim Fast, or he had the Slim Fast like advertisement. He's bigger, right?
Yeah. Right? I guess he fluctuated with his weight, but they must have taken that picture for the stand-up while he was low.
Did they have Photoshop back then?
It was the weight was probably due to stress of coming to Philly. To deal
there you
with
go.
Phanatic.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, being a friend of the Philly, like working with the fans, what is that like? I can only imagine. Like Phillies fans,
it's the best. Philly. I mean, I'm not just sitting here saying it. I always thought it. I believe it more than ever. They're, just the greatest, most passionate fans, and just for a big part of the Phanatic is that he is out in the crowd, and that has gotten more and more difficult as the years has gone by. Everybody has their cell phone camera. Everybody wants a piece, a picture of the Phanatic, a selfie of the Phanatic, because they want to post it on their Facebook or their Twitter or their Instagram, whatever. And it really, the craziness that surrounds the Phanatic, I always always tell, those old shots of the Beatles running from their fans, or Elvis, or, being mobbed, rock stars. I mean, that's kind of how it is for the Phanatic. And certainly at the ballpark, trying to get from point A to point B can be tough. But, it's still awesome to be in the middle of all that. And I think it's still important for at least the Phanatic, even though he's not in the crowd quite as much as maybe he used to be years and years ago. It's still important that he's in the middle with all the fans, because it's great not only for the fans, but it's great for me, man. I feel that love. I feel the love.
I can only imagine the love you feel just from my 2 days that I've been at the stadium this year, just because of Bryce. The amount of love I was getting, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?"
That absolutely feeds into
my ego.
My ego. Sure, we know that. We know that the energy behind a lot of the Philly Fanatics, whole.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Yeah, people ask me all the time, when the Phillies are in last place or things aren't going well and our, attendances are down, and, it really doesn't change much for me. When the Phanatic goes into a section, it's great. Yeah, the energy level rises. Now, listen, it's much better when the team's going well, and then it's like, oh man, when you have a stadium that's juiced and, you're in it, and it's great for everybody. But really, people still get a kick out of the Phanatic whether we're winning or losing. So that's pretty neat.
Have you noticed a clear change from obviously the last 4 years, 3 years to what we have done this year with our additions to the organization?
No question. The fact that we were, hit 40,000 fans those couple games after the opener, that traditionally, now maybe when we were selling out every game, 08, 09, 10, those games were sellouts. But generally speaking, even if you're having just a mediocre year, maybe you're drawing 15, 18,000 people, and here we've been consistent. And that's tough because our season ticket number is still down. When we were selling out all those games, our season ticket number was maxed out. And so we're not quite there with season tickets, but people are still buying tickets, and they're coming to the ballparks. There's just so much more juice. So there's definitely been an effect. And school's still in session. Certainly, we've only had a handful of home games right now, but when the school lets out and the weather warms up, we should have big crowds all season.
I feel that's a huge thing with the baseball. Once the weather gets so nice, everybody wants to go to the ballpark. Even if they don't like baseball, they're like, I can go spend a day outside.
Well, it's so true, and that adds to the fact that we're lucky because Citizens Bank Park is an unbelievably gorgeous place.
It is,
and it's not just a ballpark. When you're there, you can experience anything you want. You can play. You can go to the little park. What's the
yards.
The yard.
Yeah, the yard.
Vince was
hitting
able to
bombers out of there. Damn right.
Did you hit
it first pitch homer straight to center field.
The kids are like, look at Bryce Harper.
Yeah, the swing was not technical at all, but it went out the yard. Left the yard.
Well, we've made some adjustments to the ballpark the last 2 years. The yard is one of them. The new bar, Pass and Stowe, and Shake Shack, and that whole area.
Very good bar.
Great bar. And there's still some more changes. I think as an organization, we looked at the ballpark and said, man, it's 15 years old now. Need a little bit of a facelift. I totally agree with you. I think it's one of the best. I think it's the best ballpark in baseball for as far as the sight lines go. No matter where you're sitting, it's just a pure. There's not a lot of gimmicks with that ballpark. Some places, it's kind of gimmicky with the way they maybe set up their stands,
like a pool out in the outfield.
Yeah, exactly.
You, Miami, we're talking about you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the ultimate. But this is really pure. I love, and since day one, they built those drink rails, all the way around the ballpark. So when that place is full, it's just cool. Or you could just stand there, have your cheesesteak, have a beer, and when you look around, it's like it's just packed and the focus is on the game. But certainly with all the extra stuff, Ashburn Alley and the new, Pass and Stowe, it's a great place for young people. It's funny for the Phanatic, we started doing a lot of weddings, it seemed. Just as soon as we moved into the ballpark after a couple of years, like, man, we're getting a lot of wedding requests. We never used to get a lot of them. Now we get tons of them, and we can't do them all. It's nice that people think of, oh yeah, we'll just invite the Phanatic. But my theory is like, well, a lot of young people, we were starting to attract more 20-year-olds to the ballpark when we built that, our place, and we started to get good. And I think people were meeting. It's like their first date, and so it's like, hey, we met at the ballpark, so let's invite the Phanatic to our wedding. I guess that's what the thinking is.
Right.
And you guys do a lot. I think they do a lot of like proms and stuff there as well. Like, right?
Yeah. Well, we use the ballpark, for everything. It's amazing. Yeah, we rent the facility out for trade shows and weddings and bar mitzvahs and all kinds of stuff.
That's how they make their money, man.
Yeah, it's
like the Wells Fargo. Was it still Wells Fargo, right?
Yeah.
Wells Fargo was like they did everything, man. Concerts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a venue that people want to be a part of, and even if it's not like the sporting event, they want to be at the venue. Like, has a lot to do with beauty, like we were saying. Like, have it all the views, but
you know what I don't understand? Everybody will stand in line for like 2 hours for damn Chickies fries.
Yeah.
I go over to the Bulls restaurant, Luzinski's place. Dude, there's like 3 people in line. I'm like, this is the best shit ever. You guys ever have the pulled pork? Like, are you kidding me?
It's awesome.
I love that shit, man.
And right next to that, the Boardwalk Eats, where you can get, I know Shake Shack, everybody's loving Shake Shack, and those burgers are great. But those where Boardwalk Eats is, right next to Bulls, they make great burgers. And you can get the hot dog, you can get everything. But there are so many options and so many places to go that, a couple of the places, and Tony Luke's gets crowded, Chickies and Pete's, now Shake Shack, all the other places. We still got a lot of great options, food options that hopefully you don't have to spend 2 innings or 3 innings in line.
Right. I think people just get their mindset on one thing, and they're like, I gotta get it. Like there used to be a Tony Luke's right here, right down the street. And I think it closed down within like a year. You know what I mean? Because people around here are like, yo, we got steak and hoagie. Like, what do you mean, Tony Luke's? Like, we don't need Tony. We'll go to the actual Tony Luke's and get it if we want to get it.
I think you're right.
It's like more. I feel like it's more of like the adventure of going to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you put one right around the corner, you're like, all right, what's the fun in it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once you go there a couple times a month, and then you're like, all right, well, down at the ballpark, I'll just get a hot dog.
Yeah. Right. $1 dog night, baby.
You know what? $1 dog night. They still do
We still do it, and we our first $1 dog night the other night, we sold out. I mean, we're talking a Tuesday night in April, and we had 43,000 people at the ballpark.
Bought my parents tickets to that
works.
game.
All right, so here's my thought. Why go for the hot dogs? I understand they go, but you could make the hot dogs for the same price at home. The hot dog is the attraction, though, right?
It's a huge attraction, and $1 is a great deal. I mean, listen, it's expensive to go to any sporting event. It really is. Movies have gone up. It's expensive to go anywhere. And I think people do realize, hey, if we have our family, we got 4 kids,
Exactly.
and they can get a couple hot dogs, and definitely our the cheaper seats are all filled up usually for those. So now it's like, okay, you can get in for $15, $18, $1 hot dog. Now it's a little bit more manageable.
Rather than the normal, maybe you end up spending $12 to $10 for a meal for 4 kids. That's now $50.
Yeah,
and then the tickets. But you're right. I mean, I think the hot dogs really do load up the stadium sometimes.
Is there like $1 hoodie night? I took a girl down to the stadium the other day for like a little date, and she's sitting there like all cold. I was like, you gotta be cold. She's like, nah, I'm not cold. So I'll be right back. So I went and grabbed a hoodie real quick, and the only hoodies they got like $75.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was like, I'll buy it for you.
They're not cheap.
Yeah,
They're not cheap.
I was like, when's the $1 hoodie night?
I'm a little cold.
You should have waited
You ain't
for,
getting a hoodie.
well, it's not quite a hoodie, but so we got the Phillie Phanatic birthday coming up this Sunday.
Oh,
I don't
all
know
right.
when you're airing the podcast here, but it's Sunday, April 28th, Citizens Bank Phillie Phanatic birthday. But we're giving out hooded towels to kids 14 and under. So it's those towels that have a little pocket at the top, which is the Phanatic's head, so you can put that over your head.
Pool towel,
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a great item. We always try to come up with something good. You guys are wearing those Phanatic caps. We gave them out a couple of years ago.
Thanks to Tom.
There you go.
Appreciate
You're not
it.
14 and under, but we'll let you slide.
They fit. As long as they fit.
So it's pretty exciting. The birthday is another kind of Phanatic tradition. Even if Phanatic came out in '78, and they pretty much had a birthday that next following year in '79. So it's been going on for 40 years, and every year we do a different theme. This year it's a magic show, and this guy I knew a little bit before we asked him to do do the big show, but he's been on the Ellen show. He's been on that Penn and Teller magic show. He's been on America's Got Talent. His name's Wayne Hoffman, and we got this great magic show all lined up for the pregame. So if anybody's listening to this, if this is airing before the 28th and you're coming to the game, you got to be. We're now starting our games at 1 o'clock on Sundays. So our show, instead of 1:30, we moved them. Moved it up a little bit. So the show starts at 12:30, and you want to be in your seats because, it's going to be a lot of fun.
So it's actually at the game.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pregame on the field. Yeah, every year we do something different. Last year we had agility races for dogs. We had like not golden retrievers, but border collies and Australian shepherds doing races. We had a big trampoline act the year before. We've had circuses. We've had elephants. We've had dancing. Poodles. We've done it all. And it's always a fun time. It's always a fun time. I'm always happy when the game's over because it's a lot of stress. Make sure everything goes okay.
That's exciting though. Magic's
Magic's
always
cool.
Entertaining.
Always entertaining.
I think my schedule's free Sunday. How's your schedule looking?
There you go.
I'll be there.
Yeah,
there it is.
12:30.
I actually was looking for something to do, so we'll probably
Everybody
go down
There it
listening,
is.
that means you too.
Right on.
And you get a sweatshirt from Vince as
No,
well as the ticket.
No. Come on, my bank account is not that big. So have you met Gritty yet?
Yeah.
You met the old Gritty?
Gritty came out last September, and so we were winding down our season when Gritty was unveiled, and I was, just in, total astonishment on how that all played out. It's just unbelievable how that all went down, and I think everybody knows the story now, right? I mean, he came out, gets crushed on social media. People were like, I don't know about this, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins, tweet out, something derogatory, and he tweets back saying, sleep with one eye open, bird. And then a couple of those things which people are like, hey, he's ugly, but we can rip him, but out of towners can't rip him.
That's the Philly mentality.
Yeah.
We can comment about our players and our fans.
Yes.
You cannot say a word without getting heckled,
and then he became,
sure.
and now I'm saying he's ugly. Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because then all of a sudden it's like people started, digging Gritty, and then you're like, oh, he's sweet, he's cute, and it's like, well, yeah, but then once the national media got a hold of it, it's just unbelievable how that took off. Having, doing, all the late night shows and the newspaper, national, it just went so national. And once it went national, then
There's
no stopping it. And so here, we're winding down, and it was our second to last game. It was Saturday night before Fan Appreciation Day, last week of September, and we had to try to get Gritty in to meet the Phanatic, before the season ends. So Gritty came, and it was pretty cool. There's a good YouTube clip of it, and he comes running down the steps and jumps on the dugout, gives the Phanatic a big hug. They both had silly string, they're dancing, and it's pretty classic. There's a picture of his of the Phanatic and Gritty hugging, like the bromance has started. But what was cool to talk to Gritty's best friend and talking about his experience, that first week or two. The fact is, like the night before, he had done the Jimmy Fallon show, and they helicoptered him from New York back to South Philly so he could make the Flyers game, in time. Wow. So, and Gritty, this was all new to him, So, it's been a great thing to see.
Did you have any advice for Gritty when you met him?
Nah, not really. No, I mean he knows what he's doing. He can move, and he's good. Yeah, and it's great for the Flyers. It's a change because they've they're one of those franchises that just didn't, not only in hockey but like in all sports, everybody's got a mascot. I know in baseball the Dodgers don't, and the Angels don't. The Cubs for a long time didn't have a mascot, but they finally, about 5 years ago, it came out with a mascot, a Cubby. But or Clark is his name. That's right, Clark. But so the Flyers were one of the last holdouts, and it just, you could see. I mean, it does such good for a franchise, right? I mean, you're connecting with the young kids. It's their way of, I mean, I know with the Phanatic, it's the way kids can be introduced to baseball and to the Phillies. I mean, I was talking about these kids' books I've written. You're reading to your kid. He's 2 or 3 years old, and he's learning about the Phanatic. He's never been to a game, and then he goes to a game, and he's exposed to baseball, and then he sees the Phanatic. I mean, it's such a natural. I don't know why all teams don't.
I think you said it exactly right. When a child can, latch onto something and then they get to experience that, like in real life, rather than maybe a book or a video or something like that, it definitely is a huge attraction.
Yeah, I have a story about that. So back, what year was it? It was the last year. It was the last year of the vet. So this would have been, 2003. Yeah, we opened up the ballpark 2004. It was the Phillie Phanatic's birthday. This is early in the season. Kevin Millwood on the mound.
Oh,
Kevin Millwood throws a no-hitter that day on the Phanatic's birthday. And so it was unbelievable. I mean, the Phanatic had a bunch of mascots. They had that big countdown clock on the fence. So that we would take a number off. We'd have a different celebrity or player or whatever, ex-player, take the number off and put up like days to go, number of games left at the vet. And I remember, Millwood's in the middle of the no-hitter. And so they're like, listen, get out there, get off the field. Like, don't delay the game. We can't mess up the no-hitter. Anyway, he throws a no-hitter, and I'm driving home and I'm listening to sports radio. I'm listening to WIP, and people are calling in and they're like, yeah, we went to the game because it was the Phanatic birthday party. We always bring our kids down to the Phanatic birthday party, and our kids got a chance to see history and saw a no-hitter. And it was just like, wow, that's it in a nutshell, drawing those new fans to the game.
That's so cool.
For a lot of our hockey listeners, that's very rare for that to happen. We got a lot of hockey followers, but baseball no-hitter is very, very, very impressive. That's crazy, and I'm sure those kids like the game there for the Phanatic, like you said, you know what I mean, happened to catch a little piece of history, and like you remember that stuff.
Yes.
I only remember I remember my one time at the vet. I was younger. I was probably like 4 years old. And I still have like this little picture in my head of the vet. Like my grandma took all of us down there, chocolate all over me, hot summer day. Like I don't remember anything from when I was a kid, but I remember going to the vet, experiencing the Phillies for the first time. I think it was my first time when I was like 4.
I have a tough memory of the vet because my last time at the vet was when the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Tampa Bay.
That was awful.
How are you serious?
Yeah,
that was just
I was at that game too. It was brutal.
Your heart forever. That is one of the.
And that was your first time at the vet?
No, I've been there many times before, but that was the last time.
That was your last time there, yeah.
And you don't want to end it like that, but. We went on to win the Super Bowl.
There you go.
So, you know what? We're all right.
Yeah, we're doing all right so far. Hopefully we can keep it up. And so also you get to probably interact with the players a lot, right?
Yeah. The Phanatic's philosophy, I think, usually is messing around with the opposing team. He kind of spends a lot of time in front of that visiting dugout before the game. Trying to knock them off their game a little bit, trying to give the Phillies any kind of advantage, Hopefully it doesn't loosen them up. I think sometimes they're sitting there laughing at what the Phanatic's doing. It's like, all right, well, this is having the opposite effect, and I don't want to, have the Phanatic listen.
Have a good time.
Exactly. But no. So yeah, usually we're messing around with the other team, and then with the Phillies players, these guys are getting ready for the game. So if the Phanatic will wait for a player to engage him, you know what I mean, instead of, especially with the home team. But there's certain players, of course, like Chase Utley. I mean, he's getting ready for the game, and he would just be zoned in. He'd look right through you. Tony Gwynn, that's the one guy I think a visiting player would come. And the San Diego Padres are always fun to goof with. They're West Coast guys. They're always, footloose and fancy free, and not Tony Gwynn. I mean, and he would never badmouth the Phanatic. He would just look right through the Phanatic like he wasn't even there. Like, I'm not messing around. I'm getting ready for the game, So you get all kinds.
Yeah, I could see some guys like that. You know what I mean? Just as dialed in and whatnot.
Sure.
So have you personally had any touch with the new Bryce Harper yet, or like
Yeah,
you?
well, yeah. You talk about bromance. I mean, the Phanatic and Harper, it's been awesome. I mean, really, right from the jump. I mean, when we introduced him at the press conference, the Phanatic went into we were down in Clearwater, and it was an off day. But we were in the visiting clubhouse. It was kind of the green room. You know, his wife was there, his parents, his agent, a couple other friends, our Phillies officials, and they're getting ready to go up onto the dugout where we staged this announcement. And the Phanatic comes busting into the room, and he's already laughing. Now, the Phanatic and him had met a few times, certainly when he's come to town, but even at the All-Star game. There have been a couple occasions where the Phanatic's been out there, and Bryce, I'm watching Bryce, and he's telling other great players are all all-stars. Like, there he is. He's the best. He's the best. I'm like, oh, okay, Harper. I have to hate you. You're a national. But Washington National. But it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, so Phanatic busts into this room and he's laughing, and his parents are like, oh, well, first of all, the Phanatic pushes Bryce out of the way. I thought he tripped over one of the stools in the locker room. I'm like, oh no! Like, is he going to go up to this press conference and on crutches? Like, did the Phanatic just like break his ankle? But he pushed him out of the way to get to his wife, and he thought that was funny. Like, get out of my way, $330 million man. The Phanatic's gonna have some fun with your wife here. But then his parents are like, hey, Bryce, show him that bat you have. Bryce pulls out a cell phone and he's like, oh yeah, here you go, Phanatic, check this out. And he had a customized bat made with the Phanatic painted all over it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then his first time up to the plate, he's got Phanatic socks. He hits a couple home runs. And then he shows up on opening day with a Phanatic and Gritty Pulp Fiction t-shirt. And then on opening day, he's got the Phanatic shoes.
And I remember that, them green shoes. I don't think anybody will ever forget them shoes.
Yeah, I know.
It was an unbelievable way. One, he connected with the fans immediately. The fans were like, wow, he likes the Phanatic too? Boom. We're cool with him.
Nice.
And that fist pump will get not only the whole right outfield pumped up, but that entire stadium feels the energy coming from him.
Well, yeah, after the Bryce showed off his new Phanatic shoes, the next night the Phanatic had his pair of shoes, but he had pictures of Bryce Harper put on the right on the front. So people see, and Bryce loved it, so it's cool.
Yeah, he seems to be a showman. He engages, which is good. Philly needs a player like that.
Yeah.
Like we got Giroux for the Flyers. You know what I mean? Like he engages, but not like a Bryce Harper, man. You know what I mean? Giroux does it more on the ice, if we're going to talk hockey-wise. You know what I mean? He'll show you on the ice. So Bryce will show you on the field, like shit. But I'm saying, when Bryce goes out there, he's like throwing his hands up to the fans and stuff. It's great to see, man. Philly needs that.
It's definitely like the Phanatic would bring energy to a game. It's nice to see that, right? Even when they're not playing, a little 1 second thing, maybe a little, like JoJo does when he pumps up the crowd. Oh, like that gets everybody's heart pumping just a little harder. And then, when you're coming down to the waning minutes and then, you're cheering louder, maybe it helps the team.
Yeah, it makes for a great atmosphere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think the Phanatic and Bryce are going to be our friends for a while.
For sure.
Keep the bromance going.
Gotta keep it going. So I think we should do our game here. Don't look at my sheet, Rossi, all right?
Definitely.
Don't look at the sheet because you're part of this.
I wasn't cheating.
All right. So, Tom, I'll have you know that we do a little game as I introduced you before.
I'm undefeated.
Oh, boy.
Well, so he tied, so he's still undefeated. Yes, he hasn't been beaten yet. So we play a game called Can You Beat Sauce? And last episode we did a spelling bee. I think we'll stick on that theme for now, but we'll do previous Phillies players.
Also, to go off of this, we could use some fans' help to come up with new ideas for this Can You Beat Saucy segment. Because if not, you're just going to have a lot of me messing up spelling words.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know I was going to be spelling. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's all right. Rossi, what you make it to?
What do you mean?
In school.
We went.
Yeah. I made it out of high school. So listen.
We made it out of high school.
The spelling level's low here.
Yeah. Vocabulary mediocre. It's all right. Shouldn't be too hard, but.
All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna send Sauce out the room. He's gonna take a walk down the hallway and
good luck.
And not cheat.
Thanks, pal.
Good luck.
And then we're gonna get Tom some players here. And I searched these up. I went back, and I don't know what years exactly these guys played for the Phillies.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna have to spell their name.
I found some tough names.
Oh boy. All right.
So we can do that, or you know what? I'll give you the choice. But while he's out there, we can do nicknames of the Phillies, previous Phillies.
Oh, I like that.
You want to do nicknames?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that might be
All right,
more
let's
fun.
try that.
Yeah. All
And
right.
he's fine.
Right. So I'll give you the name of the Philly,
Okay.
and you have to give me his nickname.
Oh, absolutely. I like that.
And then we have a little. Let me see if I
We're
can
throwing him a curveball. Throwing Sauce a curveball.
Right,
a
he's
little
gonna
bit.
come in ready to spell, and he's
Right.
gonna
Nice.
have to do it.
All right, here we go.
All right. So your first player is Mike Schmidt.
Nickname? Well, Schmitty really is the nickname.
Got it.
Bang.
1 for 1. All right. Name number 2, Cole Hamels.
Hollywood.
2 for 2. Saucy's in for some trouble,
He is.
man. And this one I didn't know, and I'm sure you might know, but we'll find out. Ryan Howard.
Big piece.
Man, 3 for 3. Oh, man, that's why he wanted to do the nicknames. You go 3 for 3. All right, let's get Saucy back
He
in.
has another one too. Big Brown, because just like UPS, he always delivers.
Oh, is
the
that-
brown truck.
that was it?
Full
Oh.
except Big Brown too.
All right, yeah. So if he comes in here and says pretty brown, we'll get
Yeah.
Rossi, get in here.
Well, that was it. 3 of them. Oh,
3
jeez.
for 3.
We're throwing you a.
How do you do?
Well, have you know? Okay, so we're throwing you a curveball here. You won't be spelling.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're gonna go with Phillies nicknames.
Oh.
So I'm gonna give you the Phillies name, the player, and you're gonna have to give me his nickname.
Oh, jeez.
And no pressure, but Tom went 3 for 3.
Come on.
In my sleep.
Oh,
We could have been here all day,
All
man.
right, all
I
right.
think I could have been cranking them out.
Listen, I think after this, I hope to stay undefeated. So
All right, here we
let's see
go.
what we got.
So take your time and answer wisely. We'll start off with Mike Schmidt.
I'm just the worst. I was expecting to spell, so let's go with. Here, oh my lord!
This was the easiest one,
I
too.
know. Can't do it. Let's go with. Nope, I can't think of nothing. Let's go with just Mike. It's got nothing to do with. Nope, I'm out. God, what do you got?
No, you gotta say it.
Let's just do
Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt. I got the Schmidt part.
Well,
SCHMIDT.
right, but you're not spelling. You're not spelling.
I really don't know. Let's go. Just do the bat. Whatever. That sucks.
So your final
my
answer.
final answer is the bat. Yeah, I know.
Hold on.
I know.
One more
Terrible,
time.
terrible.
One more time.
You know what?
the
You know who
answer
that
on
was?
that?
That was Pat Burrell with
Yeah,
Pat the Bat.
Would you like to tell him the nickname?
Schmitty.
Schmitty. That's why I was emphasizing the Schmidt.
Right.
Schmitty.
The Schmidt.
That was the easy one.
All right.
I'm sweating,
Well, so let's go for the second one. Cole Hamels. You should know this one.
bro.
Bro, I designed this for you. I thought you would get this.
Yeah, your wheelhouse, 2008 Phillies.
I'm terrible today. Cole Hamels. Let's go with. Oh my God. I'm speechless today.
I'm so
I got-
glad we didn't
I
spell.
got
This is great.
Cole.
Yeah, that's his first name.
I know his first name, and you know what? This is embarrassing now, but speechless. Let's go with. I got nothing, man. I got nothing. What is it?
You want a hint? I mean,
would
you
love a
already
hint.
you
I
already
would love a
lost,
hint.
but
You know, I'm playing-
California. Cole Hamels. Nickname.
That's not going to help him at all.
No. Yeah. No. I'm. It's tough when I'm going against the Phanatic's best friend.
You got 5 seconds.
Yeah. I'm done. I got nothing.
All right, Rossi
What
with the
was it?
incomplete Hollywood.
Hollywood Cole.
Cole, listen,
Hollywood.
Listen, even I know that one. I knew that one.
Bro, I play baseball. You never play baseball. I cannot get these names. Let's go. Next one.
Now, I thought you were gonna have the first two. So if you don't get this one, Ryan Howard.
Big Brown.
Oh, we said
there you go.
We
yeah.
said we would give it to you.
We give you that. Yeah, the
all
big
right.
piece or Big Brown.
The one we have it on is the big piece, but we
I
also
know the big piece,
we
too.
also discussed before you
Did
came in here that
did
we
you
would
say
give
Big
it to you.
Brown, too?
Yeah, I said big
Okay.
piece, but I said we'll accept Big Brown because just like UPS, he always delivered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, now that I've lost one, I need to make sure that I study a little bit. I thought we were spelling. I thought we were spelling.
You know what? Here, you ready? We'll do it right here between both of you. You spell this guy's name,
Go ahead.
and we'll see how it goes.
Here comes Liz.
So, Tom, would you like to go? We'll give you one name. Would you go like first or
I'll
second?
go first.
Michael Garcia Parra, baseball player. He's in the Phillies minor league.
Do you want Garcia Parra?
Michael Garcia Parra.
All right,
Last
well,
name.
last name?
Yeah.
Garciapare. Or R-A.
Good. Spell it again.
Oh, yeah. Garciapara.
Garcia Parra. GarciaParra.
Oh, 2 R's?
2 R's at the end.
You're back. You're back.
I'm just saying that clearly tells that if we had
Yeah,
done 3
I might have gone
spelling,
down.
I would have won. So let's leave that on the table there.
On the record. So I guess spelling's your thing. You know what I
Spelling
mean?
is your thing.
I
Were you
went-
always good in spelling?
I went 1 for 3 last week, so no.
He had $340 on the table if he got the last word right. He was sweating.
Shaking.
He got it right. $340 was in his pocket.
I
Nice.
still cannot believe that I could not come up with Cole's or Schmitty's nickname. That is just.
I mean, I wouldn't get it. I just expected you to get it since you play baseball. But
I expected to get that too.
I mean,
can't believe
when
it.
I was writing these down, I was like, Tom's probably gonna nail all 3 of these. But I was like, I figured you'd give him a little contest. But it's all right. We'll stick to the spelling. You know.
I'm just gonna have to hang out with the Phanatic's best friend a little longer
There you go.
and figure out
Little
the
history of the
answers.
Phillies, nicknames, numbers. I'm pretty good with numbers too. Like, even with the Flyers, I can tell the Broad Street Bullies from 73, 74, 75. I think I can tell you every player on those teams and the number they wore. So I was a huge Broad Street Bully fan.
That shows a lot towards like someone's fandom.
What a maniac I am.
I couldn't tell you
It's-
Cole's nickname apparently, so
It's all right. Look, you're undefeated in the spelling,
I think you're
but
right.
in the trivia, not so good.
Well, I haven't won yet either, so
Right.
we're looking for our first win.
You're like stuck right in the middle. But anyway,
Thank you for participating.
Hey,
That
it was my pleasure taking you down.
all right.
getting bodied.
We're gonna have to bring them back and get another competition going.
So before we end this off, where can people find your podcast and your books?
Yeah. So let's see. Podcast is on the Phillies website. So if you go to Phillies.com, scroll down about half the page, it says Phillies podcast. You hit on that. And there are a couple. Kevin Franson has a new one, our radio guy. He's got a podcast. John Brazier and my podcast. Todd Zalecki does an MLB podcast that we have on there. So that's where you go for the podcast. The kids' books you can get down at the ballpark. And then this other book, and I'll tell you real briefly about it. It's called Feel the Love. It's more of a business leadership type of book. We were talking about this whole podcast about the love people have for the Phanatic, and it hit me. And I wound up meeting a guy. He's an exec. He works with executive teams. He goes into companies and helps with their culture. And he saw me talk once at doing a keynote, and we started meeting. And he's like, "I think you have a message there." And the more I talk, it's like, you know what? It's love. It's like I was telling him how every time somebody finds out what I do for a living, they're like, "I love the Phanatic." It's the first words I always hear. I love the Phanatic. I love the Phanatic. And so, why do people love the Phanatic? And what could be better if for a company, for somebody to say, "Oh, I love your company," or I love working for your company. So that's how we looked at it, and we kind of evaluated what does the Phanatic do. He kisses, he high fives, he kind of loves you first. We came up with a bunch of different Phanatic themed principles, and we developed a workshop So we have a workshop that we go into companies and give our workshop. I just do a keynote, talking about the Phanatic, my life as a Phanatic, but then also these principles that can be used in the workplace. So that book's Feel the Love. You can buy it on Amazon. And if people want to hire me for a keynote, they can hook up with me on LinkedIn is the best way to do it. Yeah, Tom Burgoyne.
And we'll put all that information in the description so that you guys can make sure you get in touch with Tom somehow and, maybe meet the Phanatic's best friend.
Awesome. Well, this has been a real pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome,
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on again sometime. And hopefully after the Phillies are making a big push for Red October.
Right after the parade, I'll come back on, man. We'll toast.
Absolutely. I'll have the nicknames down.
I will. There you go.
Again, this is the Unsurpassed Podcast, Episode 3, sponsored by Coda Productions, LLC.
And Rossi Masonry.
And once again, we'd like to thank Tom for coming on. It's been awesome, man, and we look forward to having you again.
Great seeing you guys.
Episode 4 coming soon. Stay tuned.